Good morning, everybody. Wow, that sounds great. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to kind of MC this morning. I have to tell you, this has been an adventure for me. My dear friend Greg Grimes actually roped me into doing this piece of legislation. And the Hawken rifle is a giant piece of Missouri history. And frankly, this ceremony today means more than just the Hawken rifle and its history in Missouri, but it recognizes what Missouri really is. We're the state capable of creating cutting-edge technology and putting it out there in the frontier. You know, from the Hawken rifle to the Mercury space capsule built in St. Louis, to just last week in Sedalia, the high school robotics team being named the top 3 in the world. That's what Missouri is, and that's what Missouri is about. And this piece of our history reminds us of what we're capable of. And it reminds us that we're not scared to go out on the frontier and do something a little bit better than anybody else has ever done before. So with that, I'd like to start having our dignitaries speak with y'all. And our first off is our wonderful Lieutenant Governor, Mike Kehoe.
Thank you, Representative, and it's an honor to be here. And as I've talked to several of you this morning, it's really cool but very fitting to have this firearm as part of Missouri history. As the representative so eloquently said, it is part of who we are. It is part of how this country and state is settled, and I'm just honored to be able to be a small part of it. Thank you, Mr. Browner, for putting your time and efforts in. When I met him this morning, he said, all I did was make the rifle. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's not much. But that's an incredible effort that he took, and the hours and years literally to put that together. And then obviously, thank you to Representatives Clemens and Christensen. Thank you so much. I still call you boy.
Hey, that's okay.
I'm trying to get a married name down, Pat, but thank you so much for being willing to go out there. It's not always easy in this building to put together legislation that some people might wonder why you're doing or what it's all about, even though it's historic, even though it's fitting, even though it's appropriate. But it takes representatives that really understand how important Missouri's history is and how we have to capture it to do the right thing, and I'm so appreciative they were able to do that. I'm grateful that Drew Button is here with our Department of Natural Resources. Our state parks and historic sites across our state are one of the biggest assets the state of Missouri has. And I know Drew and his team will shepherd this incredible piece of history and make sure all Missourians can see it for decades and literally centuries to come. And I think it's appropriate to never forget who we are and what our history is all about. And you know, sometimes history makes people uncomfortable, but it's history that we learn from, and history that we build on, and history that we go forward with. So I'm so pleased to be able to have this physical piece of memento for our state archives. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of the people and enthusiasts here this morning being willing to come in an early morning to Jefferson City to be a part of this. So thank you so much, and God bless you guys.
So great thanks to the Lieutenant Governor. Now, this journey has been a journey. Apparently, it's not so easy to give a gift to the state of Missouri. So I had to start asking a lot of questions. I found myself actually personally rifling through statute to find out that our Department of Revenue accepts all gifts from the state of Missouri, and there's a form and statute you have to fill out. That was the first of many forms. So where the buck finally rested, it was with our Department of Natural Resources, and I'd like to introduce our Director, Drew Button, to speak with you this morning.
Well, thank you, Representative Clemens. It's great to see everybody here today as we showcase a piece of Missouri's history. And certainly on behalf of the State Museum, we are honored to have Missouri State symbol be displayed at our State Museum. And Mr. Brownlee, certainly very much appreciate your talent and your generosity in this donation. As Representative Clemens said, 2023 state law designated the historic Hawken rifle as Missouri's official state rifle with the passage of Senate Bill 139. And as I'm sure all of you know, the Hawken rifle is a piece of the legacy of the state of Missouri. Designating it as a state symbol says who we are in terms of being trailblazers. Well known for reliability and accuracy, these rifles are a part of the many items created in Missouri that spurred the growth of our country. This is a representation of the muzzle-loading rifle that was produced to meet the needs of fur trappers, explorers, and traders in the 1800s. The story behind the rifle starts in the 1800s when brothers Jacob and Samuel Hawken learned gunsmithing from their father and opened a gun shop in St. Louis in 1815. Here is where they developed their Hawken rifle, also known as the Rocky Mountain rifle, a quality gun, light enough to carry at all times, yet heavy enough to knock down large animals at long range. Their first rifle was commissioned in St. Louis in 1823, and they were produced until 1858. The first recorded sale of a Hawken rifle was in 1831 with a fixed cost of $22.50 to $25, while the fine engraved one sold for $38 between 1837 and 1842. The brothers did not mass produce their rifles, but rather made each one by hand, one at a time. Their small crew made an estimated 1,000 rifles over those 40 years. The Hawken brothers continued to work together until Jacob's death in the cholera epidemic of 1849. Samuel retired around 1855, leaving the business to his son William, who continued with the shop until he sold the company in 1862. The Hawken name remained attached to the gun shop until it closed in 1915. Famous mountain men known to have owned the Hawken rifle included Kit Carson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Missouri's own Daniel Boone and William Henry Ashley. The 1972 feature film Jeremiah Johnson, starring Robert Redford, renewed America's interest in the Hawken rifle because Redford's character used one in the movie. Soon after that movie came out, replicas were available worldwide. This donated rifle is a handcrafted replica of the Hawken rifle, copied from an original 1850 to 54 caliber rifle built by Bob Browner to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the first commissioned Hawken and the Hawken being named Missouri State Rifle. Missouri is the 10th state to have a firearm among its state symbols. And again, on behalf of the Department of Natural Resources and the State Museum, we are honored to have this representation of the Hawken rifle as Missouri's official state rifle on display. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you all for being here this morning to celebrate a piece of Missouri's history. And again, thank you, Mr. Browner, for your generous donation.
So in this building, no one does anything alone. I actually didn't get this legislation passed. I had the exact same bill filed, and another representative and I kept taking shots at legislation, and Representative Maisie Christensen landed a hit, as she will do. We share quite a few unique experiences through this. Aside from the legislative part, we both got to fire this rifle before it goes behind a glass case, and we're both offered the opportunity to fire an original Hawken. I swear to God, it's something to hold one of these things in your hands. The history right then and there, it's a bit intimidating. But this morning I would love to introduce to you Representative Christensen.
It's great to be with you all. Everyone's different heights back here. You know, when I was actually my friend, Kyle, who's here with us today, that gave me a call, and this is after I just got elected. He said, I have a really good idea for a bill. And he went over the history of the Hawken rifle and so we're from Northwest Missouri, and of course, Jacob and Samuel Hawken from St. Louis. And it's just so interesting that you have two different sides of Missouri coming together to put this bill together. So I filed the legislation, and then I get a call from Representative Clemens, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you filed this bill. I was going to file this bill." And we worked on it together, and it was so exciting. They always tell you that you can't pass a bill your first session, and sure enough, we proved them wrong. And it's amazing. The Show Me State has so many great things, and the fact is that we are representing and we are appreciating the very people that came before us. Shows how much we are a Show Me State. Jacob and Samuel Hawken were one of the greatest people, I would say, during their time. They were entrepreneurs, but they were also people that loved their community. And I think that is so important in this day and age. We need more people that are entrepreneurs, especially here in the Show Me State, but also people that love where they are. My parents always had a great emphasis on knowing where you came from and loving the people around you. And this gun proves that very notion of the great state of Missouri. Thank you all for being here, and I'm so excited to have this. Thank you.
Alrighty, so last but certainly not least, and I don't know that he even needs an introduction in this crowd, but our gunsmith, the man who's been with this for decades, who's put in literally his blood, sweat, and tears into something that he loves, Bob Brown.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. It's been quite an undertaking. A man named Kyle Carroll got the ball rolling. He came up with the idea of the Missouri State Fire. And then Maisie and Doug took over and passed it through the legislature. A couple of people came and testified in behalf. Art Russell and Paul Fenawald, among others. It's been quite an undertaking. When I was approached about doing a project, it was very humbling and an honorable thing. And I had the easy job. All I had to do was to build. Everybody else did all the heavy lifting and got it through the legislature and passed. Again, in closing, I'd just like to say thank you all for coming and making this possible. I think it's going to be a good thing that future generations can look and see a representative piece of a very indispensable tool with great importance to the history of Western America, especially. Again, thank you all. That's all I know.
So this actually concludes the speaking part of the morning, so I'm sure you're all glad about that. What I would ask right now is if Bob would present the rifle to the Lieutenant Governor, who can accept it on behalf of the state of Missouri as the ranking officer here. And where that's comfortable, I think maybe in front of the stage is the thing to do. Thank you all, and if you want to gather around for photos, that sort of thing. Good thing. Could be wrong. Here you go. Yes, I have. I own the original. It looks like dented with the other. So I had a gun right there. I will do a handoff. And then, I'll start pointing down. That in down just a little so I can see his face. That's a problem. Well, bye Missouri. We like that program.
it.
Shoots.
It does.
And you have shot this.
I've shot it, yeah, and I think Doug hit the target too. Yeah.
They made me go first. I think because I was a Democrat.
That's
They
right.
didn't let me shoot.
It's a nonpartisan gun.
It is.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I agree.
Drew, do you want to do all do what you do and I do what I do?
Takes a team.
What is the stock that you start with here?
I buy marijuana triggers, cast them.
Where do you get the maple from?
Wherever I find it.
Yeah.
Just go around the shows and get-togethers and just buy the songs.
And then what about the barrel?
Barrel is made by a company in North Carolina, Rice Barrel. That's a 50.
And is it a 50 caliber?
50.